What's up, Wiz Nation? Coming back at you guys with another episode of State of the Wiz. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode 7. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host.
Main man Kjose, how's it going?
That's what's up. It's going good, man. How's life for you over there, man? Everything going good?
Oh man, life is going well, man. I can't complain. Looking forward to the upcoming season, but man, oh man, it's a lot of drama starting already. So let's get into it. Let's not even waste any time, man. Let's go.
All right, man. Let's get into it. Well, you already know we got to do our intro. So, for those folks who are just tuning in to State of the Wizards, thank you guys so much for subscribing to our channel, supporting State of the Wizards, supporting DC Hoopla, supporting Wiz Takes. Look, man, we see the growth, and we just gonna keep this thing going. So we really appreciate you guys. All right, so first things first, man. So let's dive into this. I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna piggyback off of some of your answers here.
hmm
So let's start with the media day coverage yesterday.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, you already know, big thing going around. Bradley Beal and several NBA players, not just him, but Bradley Beal specifically for us, said that he's unvaccinated. And,
hmm
um, Bill and his vaccine status. Give me your take on his answer, his approach, and, what you think right now as far as how he's handling
Okay. So let me go ahead and get this out the way. We all know that Bill is not vaccinated. We know that as Wizards fans. We also know he had caught COVID. So his stance on not getting the vaccine, okay, I get it. You don't want to get it, fine. But the problem that I had was he asked the question far as, well, I want to know the people who got the vaccine shot, like, why are they getting it? Dumbass question, bro. First of all, if you're anti-vaccine, anti-getting the shot, why are you concerned about what everybody thinks? Like nobody cares. First, and another thing too, yesterday was media day. So we should have been talking about the upcoming season, what the players are doing, but the media day was overshadowed with COVID, not getting the shot.
it.
And it was just too political yesterday.
Hmm.
That was the problem. And I know that Andrew Wiggins was, he hasn't got the shot. He has his reservations. And Kyrie. Now, here's what I would say to Kyrie, and I'm going to go back to Bradley Beal. Kyrie had came out. We know he was, there's a lot of things that Kyrie is totally against. But he said that he was not going to speak on not getting the shot. He
Hmm.
has his reasons, and he would like to keep it private. And he would appreciate if they didn't question him on that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Respect, man, because he didn't want to make that media day be about him. He wasn't there, but he didn't want to make it be about him.
Well,
This guy,
I don't mean to cut you off, but a lot of NBA players are taking, if you don't get vaccinated, I guess the stance is, hey, it's personal. Kyle Kuzma also said, hey, it's personal. I'd rather not disclose whether or not I've been vaccinated or not.
fine. That's
Right,
fine if you
right,
take that approach. But
right.
my issue is what he said after the fact. I'm talking about Bill.
Hmm.
To ask the question about people who's getting the vaccine, like, bro, why do you care? You don't
Right,
want to get the shot. Why do you care? Matter of fact, why don't you go ask Carl Anthony Towns about that, who
right,
lost his mom due to COVID?
right, right.
I'm just saying, it was just too political yesterday.
Right. The seriousness of it is, hey, a lot of people who feel like having the vaccine is keeping themselves and their family safe. And you come in here yesterday acting like, those people who are taking that approach is doing everything irresponsibly. Like, what makes your way the right way? So
Right.
before I give my take on all of this, let's go ahead and play this portion of the interview. Now, the watcher out there, you guys may not be able to hear the audio, and I apologize if you cannot. I'm gonna hopefully get the audio played for you guys, but if you can, just follow the closed captioning here.
Decision on, but are you surprised that the way, I guess, then what's like the justification there? Like, how do you kind of manage that? Still taking COVID seriously, but just not getting the vaccine. And then also this idea of like with NBA players, I don't know if you read the Rolling Stones article over the weekend, but that there seems to be like, for lack of a better word, an anti-vax herd among NBA players.
I don't give a damn about the herd or whatever it is. Every player, every person in this world is going to make their own decision for themselves. I would like an explanation to, people with vaccines. Why are they still getting COVID? If that's something that we are supposed to highly be protected from. Like, it's funny that, it reduces your chances of going to the hospital. It doesn't eliminate anybody from getting COVID, right? So is everybody in here vaxxed? I would assume, right? So you all can still get COVID, right? Okay, but you can still get COVID. Right.
All right. So, I mean, to me, that was a dumb ass question. Plain and simple, dumb ass question. How I look at it is just like everything else. If you get the flu, if you get a flu shot, you can still get the flu. No one ever said that any vaccine cures a virus. Okay. Right. So there's no guarantee in any vaccine, any medicine that cures a virus. Okay. So this expectation that we're ever going to get to that point where we find a vaccine that cures the virus, that's not going to happen. So the question was almost like a rhetorical one because no one's going to have the answer to that. I guess my thing is I would pose to Bradley Beal, name me a virus that was cured by a vaccine.
Right.
Again, that was just a stupid ass question. Now, here's my thing. All right. And I alluded to this to you in a separate conversation off the State of the Wizards. The organization allowed Bradley Beal to speak publicly about this to the media, and they enabled this. They allowed this to happen without informing him that, hey, there are some folks out there that are vaccinated because they feel like it is the right thing to do. They're keeping themselves and their family safe. What do you actually know about the vaccine?
Right.
Okay. If you don't know anything, then don't speak on it. Okay. If I'm the organization, something to that extent, informing him, educating him, getting him caught up, hey, Bradley Beal, the vaccine is not 100%. It's not going to cure folks. Hey, when this came out, it was already said that the vaccine was only going to be 95%. Pfizer was 95. What was it? Moderna was 75. And Johnson & Johnson was, less than that.
Out of all of them. Yeah.
Right. It was less than that. So the idea was that, hey, just get the vaccine. So therefore, if you do contract COVID, you don't die from it. That was the understanding. How does this man who make millions of dollars go into a press conference? Mind you, kids look up to this man. He's a role model. How do you go in, a millionaire, and ask a question? I want to know why those are vaccinated still getting COVID. Brother, it was said already that those who get vaccinated can still get COVID. Why are you asking a question that everyone and their mom, literally, and their grandmother, and probably their kids know the answer to, but you? So to me, this was a black eye more so on the organization than it was for Bradley Beal. Now, Bradley Beal, I look at it simple as this. You are someone that the public looks up to. You are a public figure. You may not be a public speaker. You may not be a public advocate. You may not be a public activist, but you're a player in the public eye.
Right.
And so I get it. You're going to have people out there to say, you know what? It's his choice whether or not he wants to get vaccinated or not. You're absolutely right. But while you're in the public eye, the last thing anyone expects you to do is ask a question pertaining to health, pertaining to science, pertaining to medical advice. You're not a scientist. You're not a doctor. You're not a physician. You should be the last person speaking about this. In fact, he should have just went the route and said, hey, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physician. I'd rather not speak on it. I'll speak on it more when maybe I learn more about the virus and the vaccine. But until then, let's keep this at the basketball level.
Exactly.
And that's where I'm at.
Exactly. I agree. He should have. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if he wants to learn about COVID. I mean, he had it. Okay. He had it. So my thing is, if you don't want to get the shot, cool. You don't have to get the shot. But don't ask questions like, did you get COVID? You got vaxxed? Why do you care?
Right.
Why do you care?
Why does that matter? Right.
Why does that matter? That's like a person who's sitting there saying, well, I don't wear the seatbelt. Is it going to really save me from, dying from an accident? Do you wear your seatbelt when you drive your car? Man, it does. Look, bro, look, what happens when you don't wear your seatbelt and you're in an accident? Your ass get ejected from the vehicle.
Right. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
And
so if you don't want to get the shot, then you ain't got to get the shot. But come on, man. Yesterday was media day. Don't make it political. That's all I'm saying.
And I'll make this brief. Speaking of seatbelts, there was a time people had a problem wearing seatbelts. You remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't, because this was before my time. But I do remember people saying that people were having a problem wearing seatbelts in their cars.
Yep.
Because there was a time where cars didn't have seatbelts. And as soon as they put seatbelts in, it was literally a law made to wear your seatbelt. Because there were too many people dying from accidents.
Right.
So you had those anti-seatbelt wearers, like the anti-vaxxers. You got the anti-seatbelt wearers out there who are saying, I don't want to wear my seatbelt. It's my choice.
Yeah.
So, look at what the government's trying to do. They're trying to get me to wear my seatbelt in my car that I pay for, that I own.
Come on, man. Come on, man. I mean, it's about saving lives. Here's what I say, then we can go on to another topic. My thing is this, man. The Beal is acting like he's being forced to get the vaccine. He's not being forced. The city of Washington, D.C. is not forcing you to get a vaccine. You're not in New York. You're not in California, where it's pretty much being forced that you have to get the shot. So don't act like the city of DC is telling you, oh, well, if you don't get the shot, you can't play home games.
Right.
Come on, bro. Stop it.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about Russ' remarks.
Okay.
About Beal should request a trade out of Washington.
Okay.
As you know, it was reported that Russell Westbrook, on the day he was being traded, reached out to Bradley Beal, had a conversation about Beal. Hey, you should request a trade also. You should want out. I'm going to give you my take on it. What's your take on that?
My take on it is I really didn't care. I know a lot of people have been giving Russ the business since that came out. And the reason why I don't care is because before the season started, I was reading when Russ fans were saying that he was going to come here and do this and do that, change kind of the narrative, take over the team, which he did.
Right.
And then, two, look at what happened when he was in Houston. When he got here, what did he do? He pretty much aired out Houston's dirty laundry, talked about how James Harden was. Now, of course, not going to give James Harden a pass because he created that whole culture, and Houston is in rebuild mode and forced his way out. But Russ said, hey, James Harden parties a lot. There's no accountability being held, this, that, and the third. He comes here, and he recognizes first we fired his coach,
Mm-hmm.
and we hired a new coach. You and I had already had conversations offline saying that, hey, we didn't believe he was all in. We was pretty much ridiculed about that, but it turned out to be the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
then he's trying to tell Bradley Beal, hey, you should leave. Now, people are giving Bill kudos because he didn't leave. But what people are failing to realize is that Bill was actually mulling that decision for a while
Mm-hmm.
on draft night. Remember, he was thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't get a pass. This is going on the organization, because to go back to what you just said when it comes down to the vaccine, the organization allowed that to happen. And then Ted gets mad because Russell Westbrook leaves. Well, Russell Westbrook was a player here. He wasn't homegrown. And then you irresponsibly compared him to Alexander Ovechkin, who was drafted by the Capitals. Russell Westbrook wasn't drafted. He was traded here. So you're mad because your cash cow is leaving. He made a decision. He want to go home and play. I'm not mad at Russ for that. If anything, I'm more so mad at the organization because they allowed that to happen.
So let me ask you this question, because you said you're not mad at Russ.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay for any player outside of this organization, okay? Outside of this organization, we didn't draft this player.
Right.
We attract a player. We trade for a player. They come here and play.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay for any player to come here and tell another one of our players that they should ultimately want out as well? A player that we drafted, a player that was homegrown. Is it okay that we allowed a precedent to be set at this point? Is it okay for someone like Russell Westbrook to come into our home and say to another player who was homegrown, hey, you just want out as well? You think that's okay?
No, it's not okay. But the thing is, it happens all the time, where you have players that talk to each other and eventually they end up pairing up with another team. Look at the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie and Kevin Durant were talking amongst each other on their own respectful teams, and then boom, look what happened. They ended up in Brooklyn.
That was outside the organization.
That's outside the organization.
They
here's the
weren't
thing.
teammates yet.
Right. But here's the thing, and I get exactly where you're coming from. But the problem is, the reason why that happened is because the keys was given to Russ the moment he got here. He didn't have to earn anything. People everybody who's mad at Russ were the same ones who was praising him just a few months ago. Now these people are mad at him, like, well, what the hell did you expect? This guy did that in Houston. But you guys were sitting there so happy and talking, oh, well, Russ is doing this and Russ is doing that. And you praise him. Now you're mad at him because he was telling Bradley Beal he should leave. Did you not forget the fact that Bradley Beal was actually thinking about it? He was thinking about actually leaving for a moment. So it's not okay, but you got to still blame the organization because they allowed that to happen.
So obviously, I look at it like this. The organization is absolutely guilty of enabling a situation like that. No doubt about it. But there has to be a foot somewhere put down in this organization to say, we're not going to allow this to happen again. Absolutely not. Where is the brass in the organization that says we can't allow any player to come through this organization and set a precedent, like telling other players that they should leave the organization or they should leave the city? So what that they have a friendship? So what that it happens all the time? The point is, it happened here. And it happened in a situation where the organization literally allowed a player to come here and dictate and determine what he wanted to do at any given time. Okay, wasn't Russell Westbrook just complaining about coming from a separate organization in Houston who allowed James Harden to do the exact same thing? So Russell Westbrook comes here, pulls some James Harden-ish type shit. Let's just put it that way. He pulls some James Harden type shit. The organization, I see why Ted Leonsis threw Russell Westbrook under the bus. I see why he did that, because he learned that, and I'm sure these reports are late. These reports are just now coming out. but Ted already knew. Russell Westbrook was a snake in the grass. Russell Westbrook, we brought him here, but the whole time his loyalty was not here. Okay, I get it. You shouldn't have traded John Wall for him from the beginning, Ted. I get that. You shouldn't have allowed that to happen. But the point is, Ted, at this very moment in time, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to put your foot down? At this point, I would say no, because Bradley Beal, all he had to do was go to the press conference and say, oh, you know what? He's in a different mindset than I am. Okay, that's all Bradley Beal had to say. Okay, sure, Bradley, cool. But it was the fact that the conversation was had, Ted. The conversation was had. Bradley Beal was a part of that conversation. At this point, if you can't lay the smack down on the guy that's leaving, then what the guy here who's still here as? Like, make sure that there's some accountability being held somewhere. Like, don't get me wrong. There's no accountability whatsoever. It is crazy, man. It's crazy how this organization literally held one guy accountable. One guy. Okay? That guy's name is John Wall. They held him accountable for doing what? Throwing up gang signs? For throwing up gang signs. You held him accountable for that, right? John Wall wasn't on the phone admitting to talking to other players and getting out of here. John Wall was actually in the gym working on his game for the up-and-coming season. Okay? That's what John Wall was doing. Yeah, he probably smoked here and there. He probably drank, had a good time. That's his personal life. But you only held that man accountable. Bradley Beal is literally saying, yeah, I thought about getting out of here, but, you know, money talks. There's a good possibility I'm going to get that super max contract after this year, so I'm going to go ahead and stay. How does the organization live with itself knowing that this man considered the idea of wanting out, and after being told that he should want out?
Yeah.
How does the organization live with itself?
Well, here's the thing, too, and not to cut you off. How about the fans? The fans who pretty much say, okay, well, you know what? He's a stand-up guy.
Exactly.
He's not going to leave. You know what? That Russ guy, man, I'm glad he's out of here. But that Bill, I'm glad he's sticking around. Come on, man.
Come on.
Dude just told you.
None of y'all are holding either player accountable. All of y'all are guilty. Every single one of you. Look, we're guilty, too. Because, look, we don't hold the organization accountable. You guys don't hold the players accountable because they're your favorite player. We don't hold the organization accountable because it's our team. It's our organization. So we're all guilty of it. But you guys literally was, you know what, Russell Westbrook, this guy is, you know, he's a great guy. Bradley Beal, he's a great guy. Here it is. These dudes are working in a collective to get out of here. This, no more. Do you understand that? For you diehards out there who claim to be Wizards fans, do you understand that the guy that you was rooting for last year, who you was, you know, tweeting every freaking second, that man was like, Bill, let's go.
Yep.
Y'all understand that? Do you understand that? I don't think y'all do. Yeah, I don't think they care. They don't care.
Nope.
I mean, they player fans. They're not Wizards fans. They're player fans. But the fact of the matter is Russell Westbrook was like, hey, this right here, peace. I'm out. Deuces. You know what I mean? Bradley Beal, what you gonna do? You know?
He thought about it. He thought about it. And he was sitting there thinking about it the whole time, and we were actually wondering, like, damn, are the Wizards going to finally trade? And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, you know what? Nah, I have no desire to leave. So he was able to finesse. I have no desire to leave. I mean, come on, man. I'm tired of this emotional roller coaster that we're going through with this guy. The Wizards have to make a decision. You got to do what's best for the team, what's best for the fans. you got rid of Russ because Russ told you he wanted out. He told you where he wanted to go. He had to tell Ted that. He had to force Ted to trade him. That's what he did. And Ted traded him away. People are going to sit there and say, oh, well, we got equal value. We was able to get rid of John Wall's contract and this, that, and the third. Man, look, the fact of the matter is you pretty much purchased the snake and you're pissed off because the snake that you let out of the damn cage started to try to suffocate you. He's a damn snake. What was you expecting? But then you got this other snake who's wearing a Wizards jersey who was actually thinking about leaving. And because the fact he said, I thought about it, but I'm going to stick around. You give him a pass.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, come on, man. You can't make it up.
That's crazy. Let's move on. All right. Last topic about Beal. So Ben Simmons, there's a slight rumor going around. I know you saw it on social media. Ben Simmons for Beal. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Do you think that, with everything that's going on surrounding Ben Simmons and now recently of some of the Beal news, do you think this is a trade that actually makes sense for both sides?
I would say yes and no. It makes sense because Ben Simmons is still young. He still has potential. If he can fix that jump shot, then we're talking about, a franchise changing type of player. The reason why I say it doesn't make sense is because he would still be in the Eastern Conference. And I believe if the Wizards do move Beal, it's basically going to be on Beal's choice. He's going to want to determine where he goes. I don't think that it should be that way, but I believe the Wizards are going to do their due diligence to at least satisfy him. Now, what that leads me to is I'm looking at what the Denver Nuggets are actually doing. Now, I know you saw that Michael Porter Jr. just signed a long-term deal with the Denver Nuggets. We know that Aaron Gordon.
5 years?
I think it was 5 or 4 years. Aaron Gordon signed a long-term deal. Jamal Murray is currently in a long-term deal. Well, why do you think the Denver Nuggets is making these moves like that, signing these players? Where's the rhyme or reason? Well, they could be a team that could be in play to try to get the services of Bradley Beal. You and I, we were pro, and I think we still are pro Michael Porter Jr. Mm-hmm. I would love to have him here in Washington.
Absolutely.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So would I oppose if the Wizards traded Bradley Beal for Ben Simmons? Oh, hell no. I'm not going to oppose that. Again, if he fixed that jump shot, I mean, come on, man. What are we talking here? His potential is way higher than Bradley Beal's potential ever was when he came into the league. That's just a fact.
Yeah, I think he does more. I think he's just all around better player. Obviously, he's a better defender. He definitely gives you more than what Beal doesn't give you.
Right.
The only thing that Ben Simmons lacks, obviously, is a jump shot. But, we have scorers. We have guys who can shoot the ball. To me, I think Ben Simmons, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, I just think it's a no-brainer. Because Ben Simmons, he does so many things well that Beal doesn't do. And so he's a floor general. Obviously, we've been missing that since trading John Wall away.
Absolutely.
All you can do is just ask for that back at this point. And the trade-off is well worth it because you're getting a guy who, in my opinion, is, like I said, like you said, jump shot away from being a legitimate top 10 player in the league, someone who's going to put their stamp on the game, night in, night out. Ben Simmons hasn't really had too many huge injuries from what I, recently from what I remember. He seems durable. He seems like he's somebody who focuses and hones in on his craft. Yes, we see a lot of the falsehoods in the offseason as far as him hitting shots in an open gym, and it doesn't translate in the NBA season.
True.
Of course, those are concerns. But how is that, I just look at it like I think the trade-off is, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Then when you talk about contract, you talk about the contract situation. Beal, he's cheaper. He's $10 million cheaper. He's not all the way cheaper, but he's $10 million cheaper. Bradley Beal, has the potential at this point of making 47 million upwards a year for the next four years. And so with that in mind, you getting Ben Simmons for the next 4 years at $10 million less than that. Okay. Beal's last year of his new super duper max will potentially be upwards of 53, 54, probably close to $55 million a season. Okay. Whereas Ben Simmons last year of his contract in his 4th year is $39 million.
Here's another thing too, when you stick on that last year. How old will Bradley Beal be in that last year of that super duper max?
It'll be about 32, turning 33.
How old will Ben Simmons be in the last year of his deal?
It'll be 28, turning 29. Right. So, a lot of people are saying, well, what's the difference? If you're going to pay Ben Simmons the super max anyway, what's the difference? Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. The difference is $10 million. That's the difference. I mean, $10 million over 4 years goes a long way. You can get a very serviceable player on this roster for $40 million.
And he's younger.
Yeah, and he's younger. Yeah, come on.
It's a no-brainer.
Bradley Beal's not going to command any more. And if you ask me, I don't think Ben Simmons he's never going to command $50 million. I don't think he's ever going to get that. It took this point, a couple of All-NBA nods for him to get 37, 38. Sure, if he gets one here, okay, maybe 44, 45, but not 50. Not 50. I don't see no NBA team paying Ben Simmons upwards of $50 million over the next however many years of his career.
Well, the only way I see that happening is if Ben Simmons actually turns into the player that people were expecting him to be when he got drafted, which they was thinking of him being like the next LeBron James.
Well,
if he gets that jump shot, come on, bro. If he gets that jump shot and he turns into the next LeBron James, that may change everything.
Well, bro, that's saying a lot. You get what I'm saying?
It is saying a lot, but he have to have a consistent jump shot, and he has to be able to hit his free throws. Those are two things that he has to work on. Defensively, he's already there. His defense is way ahead of his offense. Let's just put it that way. His defense is way ahead of his offense. What I will say about Ben Simmons is that he kind of suffers the same thing that Deni Avdija suffers right now, and that's confidence. So I think a change of scenery, a coach that's going to put the confidence in him and the trust in him will probably get Ben Simmons to actually improve his game, same as with Deni Avdija.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Bill will end up getting sent out west, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. So, we did get the unfortunate news about Rui calling or texting the Wizards organization, letting them know that he will not be here for training camp. I don't think more than likely, he's not going to be with the team at the start of the season. It's just unfortunate news, man. What's your take on Rui being out for mental health reasons?
Well, we have been hearing that a lot lately with a lot of athletes suffering with mental health, like with Naomi Osaka. I know Kevin Love spoke on it. I believe Gordon Hayward, I think he spoke on it at one point in time too.
Kevin Love. Yeah, you said Kevin Love, I think, right?
Yeah, Kevin Love. I remember him speaking on it recently. Yeah. And with Rui, it's a serious thing because, these players are human beings at the end of the day. Most people sit there and say, well, these guys are multimillionaires, what kind of mental issues could they be going through? Like, man, we don't know what these guys are doing, when they're not on a basketball court, when they're not on a football field. Let me kind of take it off of basketball, for example, and talk about, Robin Williams, the comedian, rest in peace. He committed suicide. He was stressed. I think he might have been suffering with a little bit of mental health, and it was never addressed. Mm-hmm. So to bring it back to Rui, what stands out to me is the fact that he texts the team.
Right.
And
Not a phone
even
call.
so, I'm, keep him in prayers that he gets that situated, far as the mental health. And, I want him to come back when he's ready to come back. But the texting part, it gets me to kind of start thinking about other things like, okay, does this guy possibly want out of Washington? Because maybe there could have been promises that was made when he was drafted and he's not seeing it. Um, I just don't know. I mean, could he be stressed with other players? I mean, I don't want to speculate, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's something
It seems
there.
like something's going on.
It's something definitely going on,
Right.
especially when you get to the point that you're texting. You didn't talk to the owner face to face or the GM or even the coach.
You didn't even
You're
come back.
actually
You didn't come back here and meet with the organization.
right. So to
Exactly.
me, that is kind of problematic. And once again, it goes back to what we've been talking about with the organization being very irresponsible and accountability. Let me say this to the people out there that's talking about what the culture is changing. This doesn't look like the culture is changing. If anything, it looks like the culture is getting worse. And it looks like it's some type of stench that I have a serious problem with, where there is a lack of accountability and it starts from the top,
Let, let's
where there's
let's
no accountability.
let's rewind. Let's rewind. Okay. We just discussed this about Russell Westbrook coming here, literally waving his hand, saying hi to everybody in the household. And then he left. He got out of there. He was like, hey, I'm a part of the family. He made a plate. He ate. Everybody enjoyed themselves. And then he got out of there. Okay. That's literally what he did. Now, here's my thing. Okay. When we talk about culture, all right, Russell Westbrook was brought here to change the culture.
Right.
All right. He was brought here to change the culture. When he left, he made the culture what it is, worse, because Russell Westbrook isn't here anymore. Okay. He whatever the impression was when he came through the door, that culture is no longer here. All right. The organization has a problem with attracting free agents. They have a problem with retaining all-stars.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a problem. Now you have a mental health problem because Montrezl Harrell said a couple weeks ago that he just wants to go somewhere by himself.
For a few years.
For a few years. He doesn't want to be bothered. He wants to be left alone. Knowing that he's a Wizard, knowing he's on his way to DC, something is going on in Montrezl Harrell's life where he feels like, you know what, I'm tired of this. We don't know what it is, but we know he's a Wizard. He's getting ready to come into the house that Russell Westbrook just ate at and left. And we're trying to figure out, wait a minute, so are you happy to come here? What's going on? We got the plate ready for you. And then Rui, who's already been a sibling in the household, he leaves and goes, somewhere else. And then he doesn't even call. He texts us and says, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not coming home. I'm not coming home right away. I got a mental health issue. So here's where I'm at. If you got one problem, which is attracting free agents, retaining superstars, that's one problem. That's okay. That's one thing. Then you have a mental health issue, which is another problem for the organization. 1 + 1 equals a possible bigger problem, and that's the organization. Okay. I'm wondering if this is the problem. I'm wondering if what everybody's feeling in the culture and why we can't attract free agents and why we can't retain superstars or all-stars. I'm wondering if the culture issue that we're talking about is a bigger issue because of the Wizards organization. What
Oh,
is
it's
going
much bigger.
on? What's going on over there? What
It's
is
much bigger.
going on? Because if everything was flowers and roses, I don't see any of these problems popping up. Do you?
No, but let me tell you what I believe. It all started when you traded away your former franchise player. It's the way you went about trading him away. And everything has been going downhill ever since. So
And then
you
all we're doing as fans is trying to put lipstick on a on a pig. Like
on a pig, basically. That's
we
all we're
trying to
doing.
make it look good.
Yeah, we're just trying to put lipstick on a pig, make excuses. There is no excuses for this. There is no excuses for any of this at all. And this season, this upcoming season, it's no excuses. Again, Bill said his piece. I understand. But when the dude gets COVID, I don't want to hear you Bill apologists using, oh, well, the man came down with COVID. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. He knew that it was a possibility he was going to get COVID again. If he didn't get unvaccinated, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Ain't nothing too much to be said. Your job is to go out there and lead by example. You're the face of the franchise. You got to go out there and lead by example. Michael Jordan played with the goddamn flu. Played with the flu.
Some
That
people,
man didn't make no excuses.
some people would beg to differ, but we know, well, actually, Michael Jordan begged to differ. He said he had a bad batch of pizza or something like that.
Okay.
But still,
he was still under the weather, right?
Yeah,
he was still under the weather, and he went out there and he. For the people that say, well, Russ leaves it all on the floor. No, that's the perfect example of leaving it all on the floor. What Michael Jordan did. I'm not saying that Bill needs to be Michael Jordan. He should be. My point is this. You need to basically pull your bootstraps up. There's no excuses. You're 28 years old. You're in your prime. The excuses have been that you haven't had any help. The pundits are saying that you now have help.
Right.
Okay. There's no more excuses. So with Rui, with Montrezl Harrell, to me again, man, it's just not a good look at all. With Montrezl Harrell coming out there and say that he's never said anything like this when he was with the Clippers and he went to LA. Everywhere he's been, you never heard him say anything like this until he got here.
Kind, brave.
Right.
Until he got here, now all of a sudden we hear this. And then with Rui Hachimura, again, the main thing that stands out to me is the fact that he texted this information. We don't know if this man is in the DC area. 9 times out of 10, the man could be in Japan. We just don't know. Could he for all we know, he may not even play this whole season at all. And if he doesn't play this whole season at all, that's definitely not a good look. Definitely not one.
Man, I'm telling you, I hope it's not that. I hope that, Rui actually, comes back with a mindset that he's here to get to work. This was supposed to be his breakout year. This is supposed to be his year where, he shows us his improvement. And mentally he's not there. That's a concern. It's a
big time concern. It's a big time concern. There's definitely a disconnect. It's always been a disconnect amongst the players and upper management. And it's even got to the point where we're seeing it even when it comes down to what Wes Unseld Jr. wants, far as what he's going to implement in the team. We're seeing quotes even from Tommy Shepard, where it's like he's speaking on Wes Unseld Jr.'s behalf. Like, wait a minute, he's the coach. You hired him to let him decide what players is going to have, what roles these players are going to have. We don't need you to tell him and tell the fans what role Kyle Kuzma is going to have or what role, Daniel Gafford is going to have. That's Wes Unseld Jr.'s job. Your job is to go out there, scout players, find the best deals for this team. That's what your job is. Not to tell us what the players are going to be doing. We don't need to hear that from you.
Right.
Didn't mean to go off, but yeah.
Nah, you're good. So now what I'm gonna do, we're gonna shift gears a little bit. We're gonna talk about John Wall and his recent workout.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
So John Wall was working out with Ben Simmons, as you know, and he looks like he's in tip-top shape, doing his thing out there. As you saw, he recently had a press conference with the Houston Rockets organization. He did inform the Rockets organization he would be with them during the season. He would be helping out the young players, sitting on the bench with the team. He's basically a player coach getting paid $40 million this season.
Right.
So what's your take on John Wall and his workouts and where John Wall is right now with the Rockets organization?
Now, let's see. So with his workouts, I mean, he looked crisp. He looks healthy. The speed is still there. I like to see the jump shots that I saw him making, the threes that he was hitting. I like to see that translate into an actual NBA game, because people would sit there and say, well, you guys just got on Beal about those workouts. Why are you not holding, why are you not keeping that same energy with John Wall? Well, John Wall has been always told that he couldn't shoot. So when you look at these clips, you can see that, again, his speed is there. You can tell he added a jump shot. I'm like, the game just looks very easy. Like, this is a basketball. Like, that right there, we've never seen John Wall do that. Never. But you could tell this man eats, sleep, and shit basketball. Like, he really wants to be better than what he is. He also wants to prove to the haters that he's lost it. I don't see that in him. I see that he still got it. So Washington definitely used that. So let me go on to his situation in Houston. The haters are going to still continue to talk because the man is going to get paid to not play. And part of the reason why he's still in Houston is because he's not moving from the last year of his contract. He's not willing to give back money. I'm a little bit indifferent on that because he did earn that money. But in this stage in his career, if you really want to win, if you really want out of the situation that you're in, I think he should just go ahead and give that money up so he can go into a much better situation. And then he's going to end up making that money back anyway because the man just turned 31. I don't know if he's going to get 41 million again. I don't see that happening. But at this point in his career, I think it would be wise if he would just go ahead and agree to fork up that 47 million that's owed to him in that last year and get out of Houston and go most likely to the Clippers or either Philadelphia and take a shot at winning a chip.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that John Wall right now is at a point in his career where he doesn't have to prove anything. I get it. He more so wants to prove it to himself than he wants to prove it to anybody else. I think that the contract that he received from us was a gift, but it was a curse at the same time because John Wall has constantly been battling himself, injuries, just getting out there trying to live up to the expectations, live up to the hype. It's a difficult and a tall task to prove that you're worth 45, 46, 47 million dollars a year. Not even some of the greatest players that ever played this game has ever been paid that much money. The thing is, for John Wall, it's not his fault. The market spoke. People talk like he didn't earn that contract when he did. That's the problem. The problem is that John Wall received a contract when the market was just booming and players was getting paid stupid money. And players are still getting paid stupid money. Like, there's players that has already surpassed what he got back in 2017. And so the thing is for John Wall is, yeah, you don't have nothing to prove. Go ahead and eat that last year. Opt out. It doesn't matter at this point. Go win. Go win a championship. You made your money. You got paid. You've been a franchise.
I agree. I mean, the thing that I would have to say is that I do like the fact of how he's going about it in Houston, being classy. He showed up for media day. He didn't have to do that. I mean,
Right.
look at what Ben Simmons is doing. He's not showing up at all.
At all, yeah.
So he didn't have to do that. He showed up. It was a mutual agreement that that's what's going to happen. Houston is going to do whatever they can to put him in the right position. They
Yeah.
had a conversation, unlike what happened in Washington before they sent him away.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that that last year of his contract, he should just go ahead and just forego that and opt out, and allow yourself to go to a better situation and win.
And you know what? To be honest with you, my dude, I'll be honest with you. I would be saying the same thing if he was still in the Wizards uniform. I'm dead serious. If he was still here and he was coming up on the second to last year of his contract, and the Wizards was having to pay him $47 million, and we haven't even won a championship yet, 9 times out of 10, I would tell John Wall the same thing. Hey, John, we're not going to win anytime soon. You know, look, it's okay. Do what you got to do for yourself.
Yeah.
But the thing is, man, like, you know, we never valued where he was at anyway.
That's true.
When he got the contract, fans was already complaining about it before the contract even kicked in, man.
Yeah.
Fans was just ruthless.
They still are to this day.
For no reason.
They still are to this day.
The man deserved that contract because the market spoke. As soon as he hit All NBA, he deserved it. What are you mad at? You mad at the fact that he got what he deserved on the market? You mad at that, or you mad at the market? You know, what's that famous saying? Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Hate the game. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you guys are advocating for Bradley Beal to make as much money as possible.
Same thing.
I mean, it's going to be the same thing. And, you know, I see it. Hey, oh, man, I'm glad that we was able to get rid of John Wall's unmovable contract. Are you guys going to say that in the next few years when Bradley Beal is getting paid $50 million a season?
Exactly.
I mean, I think that contract is going to be even harder to move. So,
yeah, bro.
It's going to be harder to move. And that's the reason why you and I are sitting there saying that we shouldn't give him that contract, because it's going to be very challenging to move.
We can't afford it.
No, we can't.
We simply can't afford $53 million for one guy. I get it. But would you sign LeBron James in the prime of his career for $53 million? For 53 or 47 or 48, I don't care what it is, my dude. Would you sign a player to that amount of money knowing damn well that the outcome may not guarantee you a championship?
Again, man, all you got to do is look no further than the Washington Nationals situation when it came down to Bryce Harper.
Right.
Look what happened.
Yeah.
They didn't sign him to the contract. They won a damn World Series after he went and signed with the Phillies. Yeah, but still, they couldn't afford him, and then try to be able to pay Trey Turner, which he's no longer on the team, and then Juan Soto.
Anthony
it was too many moving parts.
Strasburg. So
you got to look at it when it comes down to the Wizards. Now, with this Rui situation, they may ease up a little bit still, you know, as far as signing him to a long-term deal, because we just don't know what's going to be the outcome. But the fact of the matter is, you can't afford to pay Beal $50-something million when you're not guaranteed a championship. He is a complimentary player. I'm not going to go away from that. That's what he is. Yeah. And I just think it's unfair to the organization. It's unfair to the fans to pay this guy this amount of money just because he's homegrown. Yeah, he's homegrown, but at some point, you know, you got to go ahead and let that kid leave the house, leave the nest. And that's pretty much where we're at.
Yeah, and look, for all those people out there that are saying that what we're saying is just far-fetched, you know, look, 10 years deep. This is 10 years deep. Everything we're talking is 10 years in. We're not talking third, fourth, fifth year. Some of you guys like to act like Bill just started on this team 4 years ago. Some of you like to pretend that he wasn't on this roster for 6 years prior to John Wall getting traded. You know, some of you guys like to do that, but we're 10 years in. Bill had every opportunity to lead this franchise. He was a co-leader of this franchise for, just as long as John Wall was leading this franchise. That's what you guys are not factoring in, is the fact that he was just as responsible for losing against Boston as John Wall was. He was just as responsible for getting beat by Atlanta. He was just as responsible for getting beat by the Pacers. Just as responsible for losing in the second round. You guys like to pretend that doesn't fall on Bradley Beal's shoulders.
It does. It falls on his shoulders.
It absolutely does. So come on, man. We're not talking.
Here's another thing too.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off. Here's another thing too. People want to act like, oh, well, we have so much success under Bill's leadership. Show me proof. Did we not finish this past season 4 games under 500? We haven't had a winning season under his leadership. So where's the proof that we have better results with him leading? We don't. How did we get Rui Hachimura? We had a losing season. How did we get Denny Abdia? We had a losing season.
Right. We had to lose in order to draft those guys.
Yeah, and those guys was picked 9th. One last thing I meant to address, I think we both meant to address real quick, to go back to the Ben Simmons situation. So if there is talk of Ben Simmons for Bill, what does that say about us signing Spencer Dinwiddie then? Why would that even be a conversation? Didn't we just kind of go through this whole fiasco of trying to acquire Spencer Dinwiddie, and now all of a sudden the conversation is, there's a possibility that maybe Ben Simmons will be acquired, for the rights of Bradley Beal. Well, what about Spencer Dinwiddie?
Well, from my understanding, there is a possibility, and someone brought this up to me. I don't know if this is true, but there is a possibility that we would include him in the deal for Ben Simmons. I don't know. Again, all I can say is that no matter how we spin it, it doesn't, because it just doesn't make, the trade itself makes sense, but what we do as an organization doesn't make any sense, because we're never considering or factoring in the possibilities of maybe flipping the guys that we did trade for, that we did sign, for other pieces that are probably way more valuable. You go through all this trouble to acquire one guy, and then, there's a possibility that the other guy's not going to sign the extension until after next season. So now you're just in this big funk of a mess. You got to try to figure out how you can make all this work. And at the end of the day, if there's teams out there calling and saying, hey, we're interested in this player, we're interested in that player, the organization has to be willing to say, okay, we'll be willing to give you this player, but at this price or at this cost. We don't want to give up everything. You don't want to work that hard for getting said player, and then next you're packaging him in a 2-3 player deal. That just doesn't make any sense. Or you work that hard to acquire picks, and then you end up trading guys away and giving the first round picks away, because that's essentially what we did with John Wall to get Russell Westbrook. Now we don't have Now we don't have Russell Westbrook or that first round pick anymore. Again, it's what we do that doesn't make any damn sense.
Man, I tell you, that's, to be honest with you, man, you just can't make this up. But you know what? You fans out there that wanted all this, this is what you asked for.
What you get.
And this is what you get. You get a bunch of moves that don't make any sense. You guys sat there and said, getting, Spencer Dinwiddie was a good move, this, that, and the third. But then now all of a sudden it's a possibility that he may not even finish being a Wizard. I mean, come on, man.
Even if we, I don't know. I think KCP's on a 1-year deal. Montrezl Harrell's on a 1-year deal. You traded for pieces who may not even be here after this year. So that's another thing. That's a whole nother thing. Now you're not only just talking about the star players, you're also talking about some of the supporting veterans that you traded for to come here to help, win your ball games.
Yeah, well, hey man, the main thing is, oh, well, we was able to get from up under John Wall's contract and up under Russell Westbrook's contract. What do you have to show for it?
It means absolutely nothing at
What
this
do you have to show for it?
point.
If
Absolutely nothing.
if 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 KCP leaves, if you end up flipping Kyle Kuzma, if Montrezl Harrell eventually gets flipped, what do you really have to show for it? We're a franchise that nobody wants to come play for. We can't attract anybody to come here and play. Only thing we can hold on to is Bradley Beal. And even at the end of the day, there's a possibility that this guy may walk away and we don't get nothing in return. What do you have to show for the moves that you've made? You got one player that's texting you that they're not going to be at media day because they're dealing with a mental health issue. This is a player texting you. Could the organization be the reason why he's going through a mental health? I don't know. I
Yeah.
probably would be. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that some of these players don't have a damn drinking problem. I mean, come on, man. I'm a diehard Wizards fan and I love my team, but man, oh man, oh man, it's very hard to be a fan when we just do things so wrong
That just
and we're so arrogant with it. That's the problem that I have. It's the arrogance that this organization has picked up where they just said, well, we're just going to do things. We're going to act like we're smarter than everybody else. No, man, you guys look dumb as hell.
right.
You look
Exactly.
stupid.
Exactly.
You got your franchise player trying to be Albert Einstein, but he's pretty much sounding like a dumbass. You might as well sit there and ask the question, well, hey, man, why is everybody wearing their seatbelt? To keep from getting ejected from the car, dummy.
Oh man. Well, this is going to conclude this episode of State of the Wiz. Thank you guys for tuning in. We covered some very important topics. Obviously, we're on the cusp of the season. Training camp started today. We didn't really dive into that on this episode, but as training camp continues and we start going into the preseason, there's a lot more State of the Wiz content coming soon. And you guys always keep your post notifications on, subscribe, share, comment, show us some love, man. Show us some love in the comments. And for anyone out there who subscribes to the channel, I promise you, we will subscribe back. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing us love, subscribing so far. And we're going to keep this thing going, and we'll check you guys out on the next episode of State of the Wiz. Peace.